All right, we're back with more Isaac. One day the prediction will be scuffed, but not today. I don't know. Did you guys see this? This is Canada pilled. Did you see that the Canadian bowl chain, i.e., like salads and, you know, I mean, I don't know what to say, quinoa bowls and stuff like that? The Canadian chain Freshie fired all of its cashiers and then replaced them with a kiosk where you order over Zoom with somebody in another country who then inputs your order into the kitchen for the restaurant that you're at, and then they give it to you. It's the craziest story I've read in a long time. And I mean, I was taking little hits of trending topics while I was peeing, right? And the CEO was like, "Yeah, we don't really understand why, but there's been a lot of backlash to this." And I'm like, "Well, I think if you took like a couple of seconds, you could probably figure out why people are upset about it. It's because you fired workers that were local to the area where the business was, outsourced it only so that you could get cheaper labor for a much diminished experience for the customer. Like, I can't imagine for the customer it's ideal to be ordering over Zoom from a cashier in a foreign country. But then, why am I still paying $17.23 for a poke bowl? Shouldn't I be paying like a lower price for my poke bowl if you're not willing to pay an Ontario worker minimum wage? I feel like that should be reflected in the price of my quinoa lemon Mediterranean bowl, at least. I'm not making it up. You could look it up. Google Freshii. Freshii. I'm sure you'll see it. This is capitalism for you? Yeah, but it's Freshii. Like, look at their stock price. It's got like 17 leading zeros in front of it. It trades on like the Neo Aquinas exchange in Hamilton or something like that. Like, it's not even a real company. Don't stock shame? Well, I don't know. Maybe they have like a quadrillion shares out there. I'm just saying, like, it's not the most inspiring thing to see as an investor. When you buy shares of a stock and your transaction ledger looks like you picked up like a new cryptocurrency or something like that. Bro, check it out. I just bought 17 quadrillion shares of Freshii. I don't like marked. Sure, I'll take Candy Heart, absolutely. Imagine, dude, imagine if the Freshii shares just get to like $1 each. Holy cow. I can live with that. 0.2 luck, I can live with that. It's worth 101 USD. What the hell? Maybe they're onto something. Is it one of those things where on the US like CDR it trades at like a 1,000 to 1 or something like that? I'm out this joint. Nah, years ago it was like $10. Okay, well, you know, maybe I'm mistaken. It's been known to happen before. 5 years ago it was worth $12 USD. There was a Freshii here, it closed down in like 5 months. I've literally never been to one. Here's my entire knowledge of Freshii. Every time my mom would come to Vancouver, she would go to Freshii. And then she came here, you know, like 3 months ago, or 2 months ago. And I was like, where'd you go to eat for lunch today? Freshii? And she was like, no, I won't eat there because they fired all their cashiers and replaced them with virtual ordering kiosks for like outsourced workers overseas. And I'm like, okay, well, that seems like honestly like a non-trivial reason to boycott a restaurant. It's like a very cynical business practice. Sure, I would take. Oh, I would take. Look, I'll be honest with you. I'll order from a kiosk. Like at McDonald's, maybe you won't agree with what I'm about to say, but the kiosk ordering procedure is better than the in-person at the counter ordering procedure. And not because of the staff, but because the people who are in line for the counter service are usually not acting with the sort of haste that I would like them to act with when I'm at McDonald's. You're gonna make me say it. They're old. The kiosk is a little scary. They're all ordering a small coffee, and they want to have some small talk alongside it. I'm just... You've been to a McDonald's, and you've weighed the cost of standing in the line with the relative convenience of going to the kiosk, okay? But I 100% will not walk to a mobile Zoom terminal and then go speak to somebody who is like 17 time zones away and be like, yeah, can I get the albacore tuna bowl with no green onions, please? Like, that would just... I would feel so bad. Like, does the person I'm talking to even have like a concept of where I'm at right now? Like, it's just, you're so far removed from the process. Like, I would never say no green onions, by the way. That's a psycho request. I love the green onions. It's just too cynical for me. Why do all Canadian self-checkouts have an employee at the self-checkout? I mean, you're never gonna get a defense for Canadian self-checkouts out of me. We have not ironed out the kinks in the system yet. The answer is because the self-checkouts break all the time, so they need to have somebody there in order to actually supervise the experience. And it's never because somebody does something wrong. It's always because the machine throws up like a false positive. Glad you're feeling better. Thank you, thank you. It's true, I feel great right now. Alcohol purchases. You know, again, this is like it's a Canadian American thing. At least in my province, you can't buy alcohol at a grocery store, so... So that is not an issue. You can buy it on Uber Eats, though. Yes. I agree. It's a little weird. That used to be in Pennsylvania forever. Well, I think, like, in Ontario now, you can, like, you can buy beer and wine and maybe like low ABV mixed drinks, like a seltzer or something like that. I think you can buy those at the grocery store, but in BC you still can't. And you know what? It's working because I never see publicly intoxicated people ever. Like all alcohol laws, it's been completely successful and has not merely mildly inconvenienced the entire population in order to make a few legislators feel like they're helping. I mean, yeah, I see people like smoking crystal meth outside of the SkyTrain station like literally every single day, but at least I only see like 17 crushed cans of kokanee on my walk to the grocery store. You guys, you're doing a great job. We're helping. We're helping. Ah, it's okay. They're cool. They're doing their best, I'm sure. It's not that puritanical. Like, there's parts in the U.S. where, like, you can't buy alcohol on a Sunday, right? Like, that's madness. Although, I guess, increasingly coherent with the fact that the country is sliding into some sort of theocracy. At least you can buy alcohol on a Sunday here. But it would be nice if you could get it at the grocery store. It would save you, like, a damn trip. At least. Utah, you have to go to a state liquor store. That was... so, Canada's kind of like that, depending on where you live. BC, where I live, they have provincial liquor stores called BC Liquor Store, but private liquor stores are legal, but there's a minimum price that they can set. So like they can't undercut the government stores by a lot. It's not like they can outcompete the government store just on pricing pressure. Because I mean, again, you got to filter it through like the idea of economics, right? Like one of the reasons that alcohol is so expensive is not because it's that expensive to make. It's because if it were cheaper, people would drink more of it, probably. So maybe the government is like, by making it more expensive, at least we'll like, if we want people to, if we think it's important that people drink less alcohol, we make it more expensive, people will consume less alcohol. I'm not saying it's a good thing. It depends on, you know, your worldview, I'm sure. Go ahead and hit me a couple times. You could always just go get hammered in America. I mean, I think if you wanted to go on a bender, the break-even point is probably like, you know, if you got hammered 4 days in a row at like a Northern Washington motel, you'd probably at that point have made your money back. So if you're doing like longer than that, you're probably better off staying in Blaine. That's in Northern Washington. That's for the jokes explainers. I believe in it. Okay, I don't believe in it. But in Ontario, I don't know if there's private liquor stores. I don't think there are. When I was in university, if you wanted to buy beer, you went to a store that's literally called the beer store. I'm a little nostalgic for it. It's a store that consists of like 2 conveyor belts and just smells like a glass bottle. And then you go up to like a worker and you go, I'll take a 2-4 of McClay's. And then the worker goes, 2-4 of McClay's. And then you start to hear, like if you turn your ear to the conveyor belt, you start to hear, and then it breaches like the curtain and it slides out to the front of the store. That's kind of sick. I miss that experience a little bit. And and then your beer's all like shaken up when it comes out. It's kind of a fun store. The other conveyor belt is for returning your empties, by the way, in case you were wondering. So it's the opposite. You slide on all of the beers that you've drank, you slide them through the curtain, and then the beer store employee is like, you know, here's like $17 or something like that. And then if you wanted hard alcohol or fancy beers, you went to the LCBO, the Liquor Control Board of Ontario. They weren't too worried about marketing when they named it, which I guess you have the right to do if you're the government and you control who can sell the shit in the first place. But we do have private liquor stores in BC, which is kind of sick because, you know, there's stores that cater to like, you know, higher end stuff if you're into that. Stores that cater to, you know, collectors. Like you don't just walk into the liquor store and there's only like 4 bottles of red wine and they're all like Yellowtail. I'm not trying to macros, I'm not knocking Yellowtail, okay? I'm just saying they do provide you with more of a choice. That is Australian, right? The beer store got crushed by the decision to sell beer in grocery stores. Honestly, though, like if you'll allow me to say it, the beer store kind of deserves... First off, the beer store is not a charitable thing. Wasn't it like owned by InBev to begin with? It was like a combined like oligopoly from InBev and Anheuser-Busch and stuff like that. I'm kind of nostalgic for it, but that's just because the human brain is like flawed. But also, like, that store shouldn't exist. Like, the only reason that store exists is because it was the only place where you could buy beer. Which is an insane competitive advantage. As far as, like, business cases go, I don't know if you could do better than, like, what if we just made the only store in Canada where you could sell beer? That's really good. That's gonna get you a lot of attention. But, like, they didn't offer anything except being the only place where you could buy a highly desirable product. So I think if they had it in the grocery store, it would be ideal. I mean, that's one of the reasons I like going to an American grocery store, beyond the fact that even with the exchange rate, the prices are like, 20% lower, is you'll be like, oh, while we're here, maybe we could also pick up like a 6 of, Sierra Nevada or something like that. They don't have the cool conveyors, I'll give you that. I miss the conveyors. Have you ever had Goldschlager? Oh, I've had Goldschlager. Drank a decent amount of Goldschlager in my first year of university. The liqueur, the cinnamon flavored liqueur that has little flakes of gold in it. The urban legend and I'm sure it's been around for a while, but the urban legend when I was in university was that Goldschlager gets you a little bit more messed up than other alcohols because the gold cuts up your stomach so the alcohol gets into your bloodstream faster. Now, I'm not saying I believed it, but did I repeat it many times? Yes, absolutely. I repeated it as if I believed it for sure. I mean, we could hanged man that, but life's too short, man. Instead, I'll just spend a key and 2 bombs and then another key to get this half heart and then open this up. That was a good use of my time. It's the most insane alcohol myth I've ever heard. What about this? I mean, we've talked about this one a lot, but what about the one my friend had where he said it's illegal to sell this cocktail called a snake bite in England because it makes people too drunk? What was this cocktail? 50% lager, 50% cider. Who would have thought such a simple cocktail could be so potent? I will take. We should go to the curse room, though. He said they call it a snake bite because, like, you like drink one and then you stand up and you're like poisoned, like it's venomous. I love college drinking stories. They're like, looking back, they're all so stupid, but you repeat them 100 times the next day. I've done a lot of the college drinking mainstays. I've never chugged the beer through my butt because I was as stupid as I was in university. I think we all knew that that's the sort of thing that could actually like kill you. So I would, if you're watching this, I would suggest not doing that either. That's one where it's like, can't you just get drunk the old-fashioned way? I don't understand. Seems to take some of the fun out of it when you're like, let me get a funnel and like I'm gonna do a handstand. Like, that doesn't seem like the right thing to do. I have done vodka watermelon. My review is I don't recommend it. I'm actually stupid. I'm officially dumb. I would say that it's a waste of vodka and the watermelon. I've done a shower beer, and like, I think as a college student, a shower beer has its place. But I'm not afraid to admit that I spoke out against it a little bit when it started to get popular on the internet for like adults. And I'm like, you have to leave some of the college stuff to the college students. Like, in college, I don't know if anybody else played this game. In college, some of the stuff that I was doing was bad for my body, but I told myself, it's okay, because it's only for 4 years. It's not like it's becoming a habit or anything like that. Once you start, and by the way, I don't know how true that is, but once you start being like out of college and you're like, I'm going to revisit some of this stuff from my college days, you no longer get to say like, it's only 4 years. Now you're like a 37-year-old dude posting on like r/shower beer that's like, cheers guys, and you're like, no, you gotta like, you're like, I'm sorry, but like, you're old. And that's like, he's closer to my age than he is to the college student's age, but like, you're old. Let the college students, you had that time in your life, when you could have had like a guilt-free shower beer. Now the shower beer is kind of guilty. Like if you have a spouse and a child, you should not be like posting on r/shower beer. You should just acknowledge that's not your role in life. For maybe if you're like 60, it's almost like less sad. If you're 60 and, you know, maybe you don't have kids in the house anymore and you're like, I'm retired, check it out, I'm having a shower beer on like a Saturday, I would be like, okay, dude, live your life. But if you're like 38 and you're like, you know, gotta be at work in 45 minutes, but still wanted to do the daily check-in today, here you go, guys. I'm like, it just leaves a bad taste in my. I mean, you could do whatever you want, but don't be mad when I don't, like, you know, normalize it or whatever. It's the same with all the wine ant shit, right? Like, it's wine o'clock. My doctor said I can only have one glass of wine, and then the wine glass, didn't see this coming, did you, is the size of a whole bottle. Like, I choose to drink, but this shit is, like, actually poison and, like, bad for you. So, like, if an adult posts like a selfie and is like, check it out, I'm drinking some white Zinfandel, I'm like, okay, cool. I'll click the heart button on that. Hope you're doing well. If they're like, check it out, I'm like 42 and fucking hammered, I'm like, I don't know. I'm just gonna let that one sim. I'm gonna wait for you to wake up and then delete the tweet in the morning and just, you know, carry that in my personal brain gamma pocket forever as a judge on your character, but... Go ahead. At what age should I stop getting hammered? Well, like, probably age 0. I mean, I'm not a doctor. I don't know what you want me to tell you. At what age does it stop becoming socially responsible? Or, like, socially acceptable? For me, personally, I would say, like, if it's a regular event, early to mid-20s. If you're like 28 and you're like, I get hammered at least once a week, then I'm like, I can't laugh at that. I simply have to hit you with a stone face and be like, okay, that's fine. How does that make you feel? -2, but actually +2? You grew up in Ontario, though? Yeah, but some of the people that, you know, like, were normalizing behavior in Ontario when I was a little kid are gonna fucking die, like, of cirrhosis. It just hasn't happened yet. Not to be macabre, but, like, you know... They were, like, my dad's friends when my dad was in his 30s, and now they're in their 50s, but they got, like, the kind of wrinkles that, like, would make Gordon Ramsay blush. Like, it's just that they don't look well. What if they're single? I don't know, most of them probably are at this point. Okay, give me one of these. I'm not judging necessarily. I'm just, what I'm refusing to do is do what I think a lot of society does, where they go, cool, bro. Like, if there's like, I'm 33. If one of my college friends was like, oh, I had like 8 beers in my room last night, I wouldn't be like, whoa, that's crazy. I would actually be like, are you alright? Like, I drank a whole 12-pack last night and then watched YouTube videos of songs that were popular when I was 15. I would be like, do you need to talk to us? I wouldn't be like, dude, that's a relatable story that happened to everyone. I would be like, look, lots of people have been there, but like, do you need somebody to talk to right now? I'm in this picture and I don't like it. Well, like, if you feel attacked, don't take this the wrong way necessarily, but you probably should feel like a little attacked. It's up to you how you know, interpret that information. I'm not saying you have to change your life. I'm just saying, like, I'm not gonna be the dude who's next to you that's like, keep going, you know? I'm like, I'm gonna be the dude that's like, you know that's not good for you, right? Which is fine, you know, it's your life. You can make your choices. Like if you're like, oh yeah, but like, did you see that they rescinded the Clean Air Act? I'm like, that's okay. I understand like times are tough, but at like the same time, I would rather have like healthy lungs in 2060 or as healthy as possible than like put myself even further behind than I'm already gonna be because of my damn gut flora. But I think you could. I think that maybe cool is not the word I should use. I think you can get hammered at any age as long as it's only at appropriate times. Like, even if you're 70, I think you can get shit-faced as long as it's at, like, your college reunion or, like, it's a friend's retirement party or something like that. Like, I just think as you get older, it's like the barrier of entry for getting hammered gets higher. Like when you're 20, you're like, it's Wednesday. It's a Wednesday in March. You know what that means? Thirsty Wednesdays, bro. It's Wine Wednesday. And then I would say like at the age I am now, like to get hammered and not feel guilty about it would be like, it'd have to be a reasonably special occasion. It'd have to be like a friend's wedding or like I'm on vacation or something like that. Maybe like the first night that my daughter stays over at her grandparents or something like that would do it. Something like that, right? It'd be like a once every like 6 or 8 months sort of deal. And then I think when you're 60, 70, it's like a once every few years sort of thing. You don't have to ever say like I'm never going to get hammered again. But, you know, save them for occasions that warrant it. Not just like it's a Friday in July. When was the last time you were hammered? It was probably the night before Josh's wedding. I was insanely drunk. So was everybody. At least everybody that I was hanging out with. That was like 2019. But I also feel like the hammered quotient has gone down because of COVID and having a baby. Like I'm not necessarily like the average representation of someone my age right now, although it's not that atypical. Have you ever been blackout drunk? Yeah, I don't know, like 200 times. Something like that. Is it too glib to say more times than I can remember? No wonder your gut flora is fucked. That was like 12 years ago, chat, okay? I cut out the very heavy drinking for sure when I moved to Korea. Like, well, I should say about halfway through my Korean contract. So I was like, at first I was like, life's one big party. And then you start to meet people who have been teaching ESL for like, you know, more than 5 years in Korea. And you're like, you don't look healthy. Like, you don't look like the kind of person that's... You don't look like 28-year-olds back home look. Like, you... You look like when you see a photo of like soldiers from the First World War and you're like, you're telling me this motherfucker is 19 years old? I think I had a moment that was like, okay, so it's not, that's fine. It's not all fun and games. Just slow it down a little bit. Just take some care, you know? You can still have fun, but at least have some shame. It's where I think you get into the scary stuff is when people are shameless. When there's like a 55-year-old dad who's like, I've been drunk more times this week than I've talked to my child. And you're like, that's really sad. That's like the saddest story I've ever heard in a bar in my life. My dad. You met my dad? Would you get a fecal transplant if it moderately improved your health? Yes, absolutely, in a heartbeat. Why wouldn't I? Because it's icky? What are you talking about? What reason would there be to not? I don't understand. Recycled bit? I mean, they asked the question. The hell is a fecal transplant? Sometimes when your gut flora is out of whack, you can get a literal transplant of someone else's feces to kind of give you like a little sourdough starter in your you-know-what. And kickstart your, you know, growing some good gut bacteria instead. I don't even think it's that gross. Maybe this is like... It's not too far, but like... Maybe people would take this as like an extreme. But like compared to... I mean, it's no grosser, in my opinion. Well, maybe it's a little grosser to put someone else's poop up your butt. But it's not that much grosser than the procedure I had to go through for stool samples. And it's not that... I mean, I don't know. I felt kind of... Gross is not the right word, but at least like when I was in the CT scan, I was like, this shit is very unnatural, which is fine. I don't have a problem with it, but I was like, I am basically shoving my abdomen in like an enormous spinning fucking magnet or something. I don't even know what it is. Like, I feel like I'm in a Ridley Scott movie right now. I'll take it. I'll take it. Why not? So getting a fecal transplant, that doesn't bother me, like, at all. Doesn't bother me in the slightest. Did you tell that to the doctor? I don't like to think of myself as a client to the doctor. I like to think of myself that they're like the drill sergeant and I'm the private who just showed up. I don't want to have to go to my doctor and be like suggesting treatment. I want them to diagnose me and then suggest the treatment. Maybe that's naive of me. But I don't like the idea of like going to the doctor and being like, here's what I want. Although I'm a little bit like more open to it after the experience that I had. In nursing now, we literally are taught to refer to our clients as patients, or our patients as clients. This is an honest question. How do people feel about that? Because, you know, I grew up in having the idea that when it comes to our health, doctors and nurses are professionals who deal with this stuff all day, and I'm just like a guy. You know, if I don't have any medical expertise, I would rather leave it to the people with medical expertise. But then I did also realize, like, you know, as I went through this experience, I was like, the flip side of that is that the doctor also doesn't know what it feels like to be me right now. And I recognize that, I don't know if it's because I have like a more stilted demeanor, a deep voice, a relatively like level disposition and stuff like that. But in hindsight, every doctor I had until I got referred to the internist was basically like, well, this guy feels bad enough that he would take a day off work and spend his whole fucking day sitting in a room full of people with COVID in order to see a doctor for 15 minutes. But otherwise, I think he probably just needs some like rest and relaxation, right? And I recognize that next time I go to the doctor, I gotta be a little smarter about basically like playing up how it's more like being honest. I never downplayed my symptoms, but like an idiot, the doctor would be like, what are your symptoms? And I would be like, oh, joint pain. What I should have said is like, oh, I can't bend my elbow without like 10 out of 10 pain, and I can't sleep. And then they would have been like, okay, we're gonna get you on like some antibiotics immediately. Instead, I was like, you know, joint pain and diarrhea and some nausea. And they were like, well, it sounds like a bacterial infection. So here's the thing. If it gets any worse, spend another day in the ER, come back, and maybe if you're lucky, we'll give you some antibiotics if we've decided that your life is worth the hit that the poultry industry might take from quinine-based antibiotics no longer working for Tyson Farms as well as it did recently. And, well, we'll have you set on your way then. Just make sure you drink a lot of fluids, okay? Okay, my man? Okay, see you later. Okay, Slugger. Hey, and if it gets any worse, don't hesitate to come back in. Do I get to move to, like, the front of the line or something because we've already gone through the triage? Oh, no. No, absolutely not. No, you got to start at the beginning. That wouldn't be fair. Not interested. So anyway, I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is that if you trust the doctors and the nurses, I guess you've also got to trust the people teaching the doctors and the nurses. And if you trust them, then if they think they should be referring to you as a client, then maybe there's something to that. But I mean, the older I get, I'm involuntarily becoming old school because the world changes, right? Over time. So I'm like the kind of guy that's like, no, a teacher and a parent should not be in collaboration on their child's education. You know, like the teacher should teach and the child should like do the work. And if they don't do the work, then they should like get in trouble. You know, when you go into a doctor, it shouldn't be like, oh, doctor, I don't want antibiotics. Is there some... I would just prefer not to take them. That's pretty good. I can live with that. Is there anything else? I want a doctor that's like, so here's what's going to happen, motherfucker. You're going to take one of these 2 times a day, and you're going to finish the whole bottle, because if you don't finish the whole bottle, you're contributing to the rise of antibiotic resistance that could one day threaten the entire human species. Okay, I get it. Did you listen to me? Did you fucking listen to me? Like, that's what I want from a doctor. I don't want, like, you know, so we're going to collaborate on, like, a treatment schedule for you. I want them to be like, this is the shit that is going to, like, keep you alive. And then I'll be like, okay, I'll do it. Because I want to live. But maybe the Overton window has moved and now I sound like I'm 65 years old or something. I don't know. It's possible. You do? I'm okay with that. Like, I mean, what are you going to do? Like, have you ever seen a 65-year-old who sounds like a 20-year-old? They look stupid as hell. I would rather at least appear my age. Although I'm not 65 yet, now that I think about it. Ooh, a little golden key? A little golden rodden penny? Well, I think we should pick it up for like a second. Oh, it doesn't work? That's funny. That's humorous. I heard from a doctor that they are not to make paternalistic moves. Well, that just sounds like a wording thing. Like, yeah, I would also prefer if my doctor didn't make paternalistic moves. Like telling me I can't borrow the car until I mow the lawn or something like that. But like... my doctor telling me like, hey, this is what's best for you? That's one where I'm like, I believe you. Lol, I'm from St. Louis, he's from Vancouver, we say words slightly differently. This is the first time that's ever happened to me in my whole life because I've never left my hometown. This is blowing my mind, holy cow. There's ambiguous pronunciations in the English language. This is the first time I've ever experienced this phenomenon. My favorite meal, ham sandwich on white bread with a little yellow mustard. That's what you sound like right now. Borrow? Lol. No, I don't own a passport. Why do you ask? I find personally there's enough travel and leisure with all I need is half a tank of gas and a map of my hometown. Plenty of restaurants I haven't visited that I've heard are not very good, but at least, you know, could experience some novelty. Who needs to go to Europe? Ease up, ease up. What do you think it's like to have 4,000 people? You're making an actual joke in chat, and 4,000 people can't get over the fact that I say a word slightly differently than them. How about you ease up? You go for a cheap joke because that's what works at fucking bridge night with your grandma and her 3 friends? It's ridiculous. I'm not going to let you get away with that stuff here. We have a higher standard of discourse, okay? I demand more of chat because chat demands more of me. Don't bring bridge night into this. I'm just surprised nobody was like, yo, me, grandma, and 3 friends? Who's sitting out? Where were you on that one, chat? Oh, is this some kind of new variant of 5-player bridge? I don't know how to play bridge, by the way. But I am a fan of their mix of chocolate-covered almonds and other various other chocolate-covered nuts, I think, is the other stuff that goes into bridge mix. Linda's not sitting out. You know Linda's not sitting out. Linda's got to be the ultimate old lady name right now, right? Who's the youngest Linda you know? They got to be in their 60s. Susan. Okay, Susan I could see. Esther, I have to be honest with you, I know an Esther who's my age. Donna? Donna's up there too. Olga? Okay, I'm speaking specifically from a Canadian standpoint. I don't know any Olgas, okay? Doris? Well, now you're making me sad, because I'm like, Doris is not an old name. Doris is like a deprecated name. Like, the Wikipedia page is being deleted as we speak. That's my name? No, it's not. There's nobody in chat named Doris. Come on. I know a Doris at work. She's in her 30s. Is she in her 30s or the 30s? Because I think you may have mistyped. One in chat if your name is Doris. I better not see a single one. You know my demographics are like predominantly men between the ages of like 25 and 34. So if I see any ones, I'm like, if you... People over the age of 65 is already like 0.1% of the viewing audience, and I'm pretty sure it's mostly people who lied about their birthday when they signed up. Then for it to also, you know, because it's a woman's name, we're basically, you know, rolling a D10 and getting a natural 10 for that to happen in the first place. And I'm like, I just don't see it, man. I don't see there being a single Doris in chat, quite frankly. Is she single? I don't know. I don't buy it. I'm sorry. I don't. What about Gloria? It's up there. I would say Gloria is also up there. I mean, I kind of feel like Doris could come back. But we're going through a great name lengthening cycle right now, right? Like, when I was a kid, there were some long names. Elizabeth was, like, a long name. That's the longest name you'd ever see. But, like, I now feel like we're like, every name on that name list of popular baby names was, like, a name from my childhood with, like, 12 syllables added to it. Like, there's no more Jordans. Now there's, like, Jordanin. Like, just add in, like, an extra D-A-Y-N-N to every... I think names are getting longer right now. But when they eventually, like as names get longer, people who are contrarians will start to prefer minimalist names, and that's where a little 5-letter Doris can come back. I think Doris could be, she could be cyclical. Mildred, I don't know about Mildred or like Bertha, but I think Doris could come back. Here's how Doris could still win. Agatha. Dude, I think Agatha can come back for sure. As soon as Beetlejuice 2 comes out, Agatha is going to be like the 5th most popular name in the country. Sharon! Can you imagine being married to somebody named Linda? I bet you just woke up one day in like 2002 and you were like, holy shit, I'm old. My wife is named Linda. Wow, wow, wow. Come on, you know it's true. You know, like one day that guy woke up and was like, Linda, where's my slippers? And he was like, oh no, like I gotta start purchasing more units of life insurance. My wife's name is Linda and I'm only 28. Okay, how old is your wife though? /marker, that's TBOI too.